Hi, my name is Beatrice Gutierrez, and I will be doing my author discussion on Audre Lorde. Some objectives for today are to go over her early life, her life as an activist, the highlights of her life, and some themes in her work. So, she was born Audre Geraldine Lorde on February 18th, 1934 in Harlem, New York. Her parents were immigrants from the Caribbean, and she showed self-determination at a very young age of 4 when she decided to change her name to Audre without the Y. She would always forget to write the Y at the end because it would hang off really weird, and so she just decided to change it and leave out the Y. At a young age, she had difficulty learning to speak, and so because of that, she turned to poetry to help her express herself and her words in an easier way. And then when she was in high school, her first poem was published in 17 magazine, which was quite a big deal. Lorde was seen as a very well-known activist. She was self-described as a Black lesbian mother, warrior, and poet. She served in the civil rights movements. She was a huge civil rights activist. She was a strong feminist, and she really took part in the LGBT community. Her work as being an activist has really shown through her writings and her poems, as she expresses power within each of her works, which really reflect her power in being such a strong activist for those young people going through the Civil Rights Acts, and the LGBT Act. She's just a really strong, how can I say it? She was like their number one supporter, and so everyone today going through all of these things that are happening in the world today, we really look up to her still. So some highlights in her life. In 1968, she published her first collections of poems. It was called The First Cities. In Tougaloo College, Mississippi, she had her epiphany of where she knew that she wanted to continue to teach and write poetry for the rest of her life. She knew that that was her calling, and that's what she had to be doing for the rest of her life. And then in 1991, she got the Walt Whitman Citation of Merit Poet Laureate of New York State, which was a really high title. And unfortunately, throughout her life, she dealt with cancer. And so one of her writings, called The Cancer Journals, had to do with her diagnosis and her recovery with breast cancer, and in that journal, she pretty much told and encouraged breast cancer patients to embrace themselves, although they've had the surgery, that they should go against the norms of getting breast implants, and instead to embrace their scars and stuff. And so I thought that was really strong of her. And so a list of her literary and poetic works these are just a few. Cole, The Black Unicorn, The Cancer Journals, as we talked about. Zami, A New Spelling of My Name. Sister Outsider, Essays and Speeches. Undersong, Chosen Poems, Old and New. New York City, 1970. Power and Poetry is Not a Luxury. And so here we can really see that she has the mixtures of essays, journals, writings, and poetry, and I really think that poetry was her strongest aspect in writing. Okay, and so here we'll be talking about Cole and the themes. And so here's a picture of the entire poem, Cole. And so throughout the poem, there are a lot of metaphors of diamonds and coal. And so this poem really has to do with her being black and her way of looking at, it's kind of like of her looking as, it was her way of expressing a new black and how she embraces her ethnicity and race. And so she talks about there are many kinds of open. And so throughout the poem, she talks about how there are different ways of being open to ourselves, being open to society, and how society should be open to new people and new things. And so some themes that I've seen, that I saw throughout the poem was embracing oneself, that we should embrace our true selves and not be afraid of what others have to say. A lot of transformation is seen. We all know that coal transforms into diamonds with a lot of pressure and heat. And so the metaphor between that is that although she's black inside, she is a diamond, that she can shine, and that she has so much more potential than what others may think just because of her skin color. And so you can really tell in when she says the ill-pulled tooth with a ragged edge, some words live in my throat. There we see her personal struggles her personal struggles in her life, and how they reflect how she feels and how she wants to say something, but it just stays in her throat because she knows it's the right thing. And so she uses her writings and her works to stand up for what she knows is right. And then overall, the relationship with society is seen throughout this poem, and how society should show love by being open, and like she says in the last sentence, the last two stanzas, I am black because I come from the earth's inside. Now take my word for jewel in the open light. So she knows that back then, society was not open to African Americans, but because coal comes from like the core, and it comes from the inside of the earth, and diamonds come from coal, like society needs to be open. And so yeah, she kind of just shows herself. She shows her civil rights activist side and her feminist side through this poem. And then her work from Zammy, a new spelling of my name. In the book, it included her epilogue, and so that's what will be talking about. The whole entire work is an autobiography. It includes some history and some myth that I read about. Excuse me. And so in the epilogue, it's pretty much a homage to her mother, to Audre's mother. Her mother really pushed her, and her mother really pushed her and made her the person who she was. And so the themes in the epilogue have to do with motherhood. Motherhood is seen from when she talks about how she would leave her door unlocked to let the woman that she taught and the woman who needed shelter to stay with her. And so she really shows aspects of motherhood there. Love. She lists love and female empowerment are really seen throughout the epilogue. She lists names of women that have really touched her heart and that she loves personally, and that had made her the person she was. And also strength. Here it in the epilogue, it is her mother's strength that kept her going, and that made her the strong woman that she is. And so that is my works cited, and that is Audre Lorde. And have a good night. Thanks.